Now, let's move on here because the war of words is continuing between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. Donald Trump has tested out a new nickname for the Florida governor, and I think this is a little bit stronger maybe than Meatball Ron or Ron DeSantis. He's calling him Tiny D. Now, Adam, what's your reaction to this? Is this a good move? Is this going to get in his head?
Well, look, my first reaction was that he's not that tiny. He's a pretty big guy, and he's almost as tall as Donald Trump. So, and in fact, he's often made fun of for putting on quite a lot of weight. So, look, I don't know whether Tiny D will stick, but we'll see. I mean, it's very entertaining, of course. So, look, I mean, I don't know whether it's going to work or not. I mean, the fact is, Trump's way ahead in the polls of Republican voters, by double digits consistently. And so Tiny D has a fair bit of work to do to make up that ground.
And Stephanie, I want to bring you in on this. What are your thoughts on just the shape of things now between Trump and DeSantis? Because as Adam just said, Trump is well ahead in all the Republican polls. Ron DeSantis is really, thought of as a good alternative by people who aren't necessarily diehard Republicans or diehard Trump fans. I want to get your input. Where do you see this fight going? And is there now a chance that Ron DeSantis might be looking at this and saying, just too hard this year, I might try again in 2028, set myself up now?
Right, he's making his media rounds. He is answering questions. He recently answered a question from Fox News' Tucker Carlson in regards to his thoughts on Ukraine and what he would do as president. So it appears he's definitely considering it. As for what it means between Republican voters and where their support will go, obviously the support is with former President Donald Trump right now because he is running. Now, for many Trump supporters, they don't like to see the war between Trump and DeSantis. I don't think those nicknames are necessarily going to stick because Governor Ron DeSantis is one of the favorite governors among Republicans across the country. If you think of his leadership when it came to COVID-19 and how he handled his state and how he was a role model for other states to follow suit.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, Stephanie. He made promises and he delivered on them as governor, and I think that's something that's pretty rare for a political executive. But Adam, he also has made a bit of a foray into foreign policy this week, as Stephanie mentioned, talking about Ukraine, saying it's a bit of a distraction. Now, some have been saying, especially in establishment circles, that this is, DeSantis playing to the isolationist wing. But I frankly thought he had a point. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think he had a point too. And frankly, every single US president since the Second World War, except for the current one, would have said that exact same thing, that Ukraine is not a vital US interest. So it just goes to show you how much, things have just changed for some reason in the past 2 years. And now, for some reason, Ukraine is a vital interest, at least according to the Biden administration. So, I think he's probably also looked at the polling, which shows falling support amongst Republicans for sending arms and money to Ukraine. And that's a trend that will probably continue over the next 6 to 12 months leading up to the election. And so it's probably good to get in early and make that claim now. I think it's interesting basically because you've got Trump and DeSantis having the same view on this, which basically guarantees that the Republican candidate will be an anti-war candidate in 24.
That's a really interesting sort of scenario, this idea that the Democrat left is now the pro-war hawkish party, but as with all the other inversions that we've seen in politics over the last 30 or 40 years, totally predictable.